Hey guys, welcome to the caster's desk here for one of our final games of Group D. I am Kyle Aris, along with a unfamiliar face to the caster's desk.
Hey everybody, I am Hello Kitty from Fnatic. I play in IEM, and I'm here to cast with players.
Awesome stuff, awesome stuff. Nice to have you along for this game. It's going to be trOt going up against Mr. ABomB, who was not exactly able to defeat Major, but then Major was able to rise up through the ranks and then advance on, which I'm actually not surprised about. His TVT is normally really, really good.
Yeah, actually I did some practice games with Major earlier on the ladder, and he was actually really impressive. I was so far ahead, but then in the late game he just completely crushes me multiple times, and I was not surprised that his TVT and TVP are his best matchups.
Yeah, very, very strong. So Major advances on, obviously. But now we have trOt versus ABomB, who unfortunately falls out of the bracket here at the Intel Extreme Masters. However, one of them will advance on to play against Byong, who, again, is Code S Terran Caliber. So that's a tough one. This guy, though, ABomB, he mentioned that he was a little bit nervous going into the booth in his first series. It's his first ever time actually playing in a booth. But unfortunately for him, he said that, well, if I got the chance to play Major again, I think I could win. But now then, that's not going to be the case. He's either going to have to, if he advances, he's going to have to play against Byong.
Right. I think most players, even players like me, it's actually my first time being in the booth.
Yeah.
I get a lot of nerves, especially when you have cameras and people taking pictures of you while you're playing. You're just like, oh my goodness, what do I do? I mess up macro, everybody sees it, and it's like, oh wow, but I think ABomB should do a pretty good job against trOt, and then this will be a warm-up for him for his next PVT as well. And I think he will do pretty well, because I actually played ABomB as well, and he was pretty impressive.
Ah, fair play. Well, this on camera is trOt. Maybe some people aren't familiar with him, but he is basically one of the CJ Entus' coaches. Not actually a player. Came along, participated in the open bracket, and unfortunately fell out of the upper bracket, but then from that point on, was able to go through the lower bracket and then advance to the group stages. So it's a little bit for extra money for CJ Entus.
Right. I think he was actually a pro gamer, right?
Yes, during Prudo, I think.
Right. So I mean, his mechanics is probably amazing. It's just he probably doesn't have the time, just because he's one of the coaches for CJ Entus, and it's like one of the best teams,
Yep, that is very true. I do like myself some CJ Entus. I was really sad when they weren't doing that well in Pro League at the beginning. Kind of trying to pick things up a little bit, but do you get to watch much Pro League?
No, I'm still a full-time student, and I gotta get my sleep when Pro League is on in America time.
Yeah, I know this, man. You had to do your homework whilst you were here as well. That's,
oh my goodness.
That's brutal.
Yeah, I was in between doing homework and then preparing for matches against MCNTL, blah, 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 blah. Everything just crammed together, and I managed to do that, but my results weren't as impressive as I thought it was going to be.
Well, maybe next time, man.
Next time for sure.
Next time for sure. All right. Well, we'll be getting into this series in just a little bit. ABomB and trOt have done their map vetoes. We don't know exactly what has been vetoed just yet, but we'll be getting into it in just a second. You can see trOt. Now, trOt, I would say, comes into this a little bit the underdog, because yes, he is a coach for one of the most prolific teams in Korea, but at the same time, doesn't really get the opportunity to play too much at this level.
Right. I actually talked to some of the Korean gamers, and they say that he's and also Major, they say that he's like a high master in Korea ladder, which is probably mid to high GM actually in Europe ladder and NA ladder. So we shouldn't count this guy out at all, because he's definitely one of the, more promising players that's coming in from the open bracket.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, Brazil has shown us what they had to offer. They didn't, they weren't able to do the most amazing in comparison to dealing with, the likes of all the Koreans and the Europeans and the US players that we have had to come along. But at the same time, trOt, he's Korean, so we've got to give him that. But ABomB, likewise, was looking at this match, and he was thinking to himself, yeah, he could probably take this, probably advance on, but now he has quite a hurdle ahead of him.
Yeah, I think so too. But in tournaments, anything can happen. As you can see yesterday, I ended up dropping out actually to a Brazilian hero, and he was playing really well, I gotta admit. But I think playing in this environment is actually really difficult as well, just because it's so hot. Like when I practice over there, I'm just dripping. Even in the booth, I'm just dying, sweating the entire time. But I don't know how people can do it. But I guess the best player that can adapt can win.
That's certainly true. All right, so it looks like we have Yonsu, Polar Knight, and Habitation Station. Oh no, those are our initial vetoes. And then Altrazine does end up disappearing as well through this. So hopefully we'll be getting into these games in just a little bit. I thought they'd already done the map vetoes, but apparently they're doing it in front of us, so that's fine by me. I don't mind this too much. But again, we're back into that PvT mentality, where something like Altrazine being vetoed out by ABomB, clearly he doesn't want to be dealing with the drops and all the angles that can happen on that map.
Right, but also, Altrazine is one of the biggest maps we have right now, and in order for Terran to push all the way through, they want to have reinforcements, and if you ban out this map, I don't know what his train of thought is, but it's pretty good for Protoss, in my opinion.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, well, okay. Looks like we are going to go to Daedalus first for trOt, and then Frost. First Frost? Okay, they're confusing me now. I'm like looking at the first Frost, no, Daedalus, question mark, So hopefully they'll sort that out in just a second, and that will be fantastic between these two guys. But you're right, it's really, really hot here. It's more so than yesterday. And again, I'm a poor little ginger English kid who cannot deal with the heat at all, so I am sweating buckets. But apparently in the booths, it's not too bad.
Yeah, definitely. If you're just into a little bit of, I guess, coolness, it's fine. But I usually prefer to play in maybe 70 degrees Fahrenheit weather, or
Fahrenheit, what's
to 20-ish Celsius, something like that.
Ah, okay. I'm glad you translated that for me, because I have no clue about Fahrenheit, man. All right, so we're getting our first invite into the games, and looks like Frost is the first map in the end. So Frost here to get things going, and it'll be interesting to see how trOt's going to play. Gotta say, in terms of as a caster, what you do normally to research for players is you look at their replays, you look at VODs, you look at their notes on Wikipedia or something like that. But for trOt, he's a coach. There's not really that many games of him out there. There's nothing to really study. So this is, for me, a complete blind entry into seeing what trOt's going to bring to the table.
I actually think he's going to be very creative, just because he coaches the entire team, and his team has obviously really good Terrans, as you can see. Byung's really, really good. He'll probably do very standard stuff. I think this is a map that for them to test each other out. It's not necessarily like, hey, this is my specialty map, I'm going to go into this, but it's more or less like test each other's water out, see what you're going to do and what kind of style you have, and pretty much adjust based on that.
That's a very, very fair statement here. ABomB is no doubt, almost 99.9% just going to try and macro it up. I've spoken to MYM's management, I've spoken to ABomB himself, and he feels so much more comfortable going for macro as opposed to aggression that you're almost always going to see it from him. And then he tried to mix in, the Dark Templar harassment in the previous series that he was in. A little bit of a miss rally here and there from some of those units, and now we're going into a different map. They're picking
Daedalus first, which is very surprising for me. I think he's going to definitely put on some aggression just to test out the water again.
Okay.
Most likely with Blink. But I think in general, it's still going to be fairly macro-oriented, and maybe like a 2-base, not necessarily a 3-base timing from the Protoss or the Terran.
All right, well, we've got another invite to these games, guys. Apologies for the delays here at the Intel Extreme Masters, but normally, actually, we've been very, very good about it in the past couple of days, just getting straight into these games and getting going. But Daedalus Point, as you mentioned, will be our first map here. Now, from a Protoss perspective, going up against the Terran on this map, where do you feel like your strength lies as a Protoss?
Definitely utilizing a Blink.
Yep.
And the map rush distance is definitely slightly shorter. Any good map for a Reaper is obviously really good for Blink as well. And I think ABomb's going to try to do some sort of pressure into macro, as you were saying. He's really confident with macro. Because I think trOt is not going to be as solid in terms of macro compared to ABomB, just because he's a coach.
All right, well, the good luck have funds have been exchanged in the in the lobby, and we can get going into game number 1. So the countdown has begun. I have no clue what is going on over the wall from us because it's the loudest thing I have heard since we were in Shanghai, which was extremely loud, and I could hardly hear myself talk. But now we're getting loaded up and good to go. So trOt here, the CJ Entus coach, looking to try and take out ABomb, who is a My Insanity A-teamer on Daedalus Point. If you had to kind of throw a random prediction out of there, what would you go for, trOt or ABomb here?
This is going to be really hard. Depends on whose aggression actually prevails. I think if Terran puts on really, really early pressure with like, you know, three barracks pressure, and the ABomb decides to go straight into macro instead of going for like you know, blink timing or some sort of blink pressure, I think, you know, whoever puts on the pressure, I think trOt is going to win.
All right, well, spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our red Terran representing CJ Entus' coaching team, directly under Coach Park. He is trOt. And up to the top left, we have our blue Protoss representing My Insanity. It's ABomb.
Interesting pylon placement from ABomb, actually.
Yeah.
Meant to scout for the any sort of proxy and also block the Reaper out from the mineral line. And this is actually very important in PvT. If you lose maybe 2 or 3 probes in the beginning to 1 Reaper, you are very behind in terms of, you know, tech and in terms of everything pretty much. It throws your entire game off. And I think, yes, it looks like a refinery first?
Yeah, well, with trOt with that, normally that's more significant towards something like, you know, maybe a Widow Mine play with drops or something like that, but it could quite easily be Cloak Banshees as well. So trOt opening up very interestingly here, not necessarily going for Reaper. Technically, he could throw down a reactor on this barracks and then try and do something from there. So he has options, I think.
Right, there's also another option that's actually that we forget a lot. It's Hellion run-bys. If you look at this map, if you take a really fast Nexus, you are going to be very prone to any sort of Hellion run-by if you look at the ramp in both the naturals. And it's like you need like maybe 6 buildings to block that stuff off. And yeah, I'm just very interested in see what kind of strategy trOt's going to put out.
Well, we already have trOt scouting down to the bottom left-hand corner, so I think it's actually going to be Proxy Factory, looking at the direction that this SCV is taking. It looks very, very similar to that kind of play, and this could catch his opponent off guard. He's actually opening up with Reaper, but that SCV's positioning is very, very suspect right now, I would say.
Yeah, I think he's going to do some sort of Reaper Hellion with maybe Marines pressure, like along with like a medevac. Do like a double prone attack. If as a Protoss, you're playing too greedy, you're definitely going to take a lot of damage.
There we have that Proxy Factory now positioned here for trOt, whilst we have initial Reaper about to pop. So he's going to head on across the map and see what he can get done. But as you mentioned before, we already have that wall constructed for ABomb that could cash trOt out if he goes behind the mineral line from the right-hand side.
Yeah, I still think if you're good at like Terran player, you should never lose your Reaper and get at least 1 or 2 kills.
Yeah.
And ABomb's opening is probably exactly what trOt is looking for, because if you look at the way he's rallying his factory, he's most likely going to float it into the main base and then actually just make Widow Mine straight from there.
Well, the Reaper does have a look around that wall and realizes that it is there, so can't advance on any further, and those Widow Mines are now in production from that Proxy Factory. So, but the thing is that ABomb, 9 times out of 10 from here will go for Robo. He loves just the macro focus, just the standard play, so he could get an Observer out really quickly to deal with those Widow Mines.
Yeah, I think Robo will be a very good choice. However, when you go Robo, you actually don't have enough units to really defend a lot of early game aggression. Maybe you have like a 1 or 2 Stalkers, but versus like 4 or 5 Marines plus like 3 Widow Mines and the Reaper in your base, it is actually very hectic. And if you're not careful, you're going to lose like maybe 10, 15 probes just from 1 Widow Mine.
And that 1 Widow Mine does end up burning out of vision of that Stalker.
Oh my goodness.
Nice trade there by trOt so far.
And now you look at ABomb, he's really panicking because he actually has no units except his Mothership Point, and it's actually really, really useless at this point to try to catch out even the Widow Mine or the Reaper.
Well, that 1 Widow Mine does burrow, with the Reaper still parading away, and we have a few Marines heading over there to reinforce. But meanwhile, during all of this, sorry, It's impossible to hear myself right now.
And these Brazilians, they're crazy. They're so happy and they're so excited for all sort of, you know, esports stuff they're doing.
Yes. Well, anyway, trOt is going to start continually work on this. That Widow Mine actually connecting with the probe is probably not the most amazing of trades, considering there is a Stalker trying to now push this away, and he does kill off one Marine there. So ABomb's all right for now, but these units continue on forwards here for trOt. He has to be very careful.
Right, and actually, if we look at trOt, he's actually making Hellions, and this is exactly what you should do with the pressure once you already did your damage with your Widow Mine and your Marine and your Reaper pressure.
Yeah.
You should always follow up with some sort of Hellion, just because your opponent won't have enough units.
All right, well, trOt here just accumulating, still can't hear myself, a load of Marines up at the top of this ramp, and I guess, you know, he should be able to. The thing is, he didn't get a starport, and normally when you see these kind of Hellion numbers with Marines, you see the ability to normally try and drop some of those units, but this is a little bit of an interesting build here from trOt that's not as succinct that I would normally see from a Terran.
Yeah, it is very interesting. I think he actually... Okay, let's look at the Hellion and Reaper. He's actually not doing too much damage, I think, with his Hellion Reaper.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad a defense there by ABomb. He cleans that up quite nicely. But interestingly enough, this factory has been spotted, not reacted to just yet. And he does drop a scan revealing the fact that there's the Twilight Council as well as Robotics Bay. So trOt knows that his opponent's taking up very, very heavily on 2 base, and probably just off very few gateways as well. He still doesn't actually have... There we go, there's the warp gate. But that's pretty late.
Yeah, well, 830 is okay if you have like 3 or 4 Stalkers defending early pressure. I think trOt actually messed up his build. As you can see, his stim research was really, really late. I think he wanted to do a stim plus like Marauder, you know, concussive shell timing, but he actually researched his stim rig. If you look at his left refinery, he actually got like very little gas from it. I think he was mining one worker in that gas the entire time while he was microing and trying to kill workers.
Well, as you can see here, ABomb already spots this small army moving towards his natural. He has an Immortal there, as well as a Sentry, probably for the Guardian Shield, but more so is the point that the Photon Overcharge should be able to deter this from ever occurring. So, important moves here by ABomb so far.
Yeah, I think that was actually really dangerous for trOt. If ABomb decides to bait him in a little more and just force field his units off, and plus the Mothership Cannon, the Immortal is going to do godlike damage and pretty much annihilate the entire army and just do a counter push out of 2 base and pretty much win the game.
I'll have to remember to use the phrase godlike damage more in my casting. Hello Kitty, that's pretty good. I'm liking that. But for now, we just have trOt still sitting around with this Bioforce. His starport is now added on and good to go. But at the same time, you know, we see the ABomb is very, very well set up on these 2 base. I'm not really sure that trOt can find any angles because he doesn't have medevacs.
Right. Because he was trying to go for this early kind of pressure, he actually, his medevac gets delayed by like maybe like 30 seconds to a minute or so.
Yeah.
I am actually very interested in what ABomb is going to do. I think he might actually all in behind this.
Trying to get, there we go. I got the observer through that factory that is nicely hidden there for him, and he warps in instantly with some Stalkers. Blink's not finished just yet, but he does try and focus that down and leaves one poor little Marine. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
That was very close. Yo, he was actually microing in the front.
Oh, will he be able to get that one? Colossus, he just barely gets that in the end. Very nicely done. But at the same time, he did lose a lot of damage to these Zealots, which were cleaving away at these units. So trOt loses a lot. One Colossus, a bit.
It's okay. I think it will delay the timing ABomb wanted to do, and I think he's going to try to macro behind this now that his timing is way off. And it will make him feel very insecure just because you don't have Splash versus like, you know, Bioforce with like +1 upgrade.
Yeah. Well, we have the 3rd base on the way now for ABomb. Meanwhile, over to the right-hand side for him as well, Warp Prism prepares itself to put on some pressure. And only now the 2nd Engineering Bay is being added on here for trOt. Is there anything specific here from trOt's side of things that if you were the Protoss, you would be very fearful of, or in the Protoss' shoes, do you feel pretty comfortable here?
I think I will feel pretty comfortable in general. I think my 3rd would be a little faster, but then he was under so much pressure, he didn't know what kind of attack is coming in. This Zealot job is actually going to do a lot of damage, I think.
Yeah, one gets sent to the 3rd base, doesn't really do a whole lot, but the Zealots get dropped in the main, and he's also going to the natural as well, so dividing these up, making it a bit harder for trOt to deal with. is a very nice play. He denies a lot of mining time at this point.
And yeah, he can just take a safe third behind this and even pressure in the front. I wouldn't expect this Zealots to do too much damage, but they seem like they're doing just fine. Just drawing the army back, make sure the Terran is on his side of the map, that we can push out safely.
And there we have the Zealots still going to work. The Warp Prism does end up falling, so he won't have too easy a time of reinforcing if he wants to force the engagement here. But there's two Colossi really piling on the pressure and leaving.
I think this is really bad for ABomb if he decides to engage, just because he has no reinforcements, and you know the other side of the map of the Terran, they have a lot more reinforcements. That was a really silly mistake. I think he could have actually won that game if he just decided to keep the Warp Prism alive.
Well, yeah, I mean, he would have had far more reinforcements, would have been very, very nice indeed. But now ABomb's just going to sit pretty on these 3 bases. He's moving out with his Stalker to see if he can find any straggling Vikings, any straggling Medevacs once this composition starts flying around, which is, you know, very good once you have Blink finished here for ABomb.
Blink definitely on this map, especially since it's so open. You have so much abusive power with it. Like you can Blink, pick off a Medevac, pick off some workers and stuff. And it looks like his micro is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that was really sick. The fact that he was only blinked one of those Stalkers back initially, but at the same time, he dropped the scan and revealed his opponent's entire army. So if we see whoa, SCVs, okay then, well, here we go. 3 Colossi, will they be able to make the difference here? The blink forwards from ABomb. He's going to try and bring down as many of these Vikings as possible, keep them alive, but the flank on the left-hand side from trOt was fantastic to take out those Colossi. Wow. He does so much damage to ABomb's army, and now ABomb is in a lot of trouble.
This is the power of Terran on, you know, an open field. You can't really force field, and I think ABomb only had like 1 or 2 sentries, and that's just not nearly enough to defend against this kind of stuff.
Tough Times tries to warp in, the probes are off the line as well. He has to tank as much as he can, but at the same time, trOt, well, actually, he might have been better off there landing his Vikings to help out, but he does get off the Mothership Core as well.
He overextended slightly. You don't ever want to fight under the Nexus cannon ever. Like, it's just really bad for Terran, even if you have like 3/3 upgrades. But he's 2/2 actually just finished versus the 1/1 from Protoss, and this is like the best timing for any Terran to fight. Like, it's like Alex in the Wonderland, you just freaking get free money.
Well, yeah, we have to pull all the probes again to try and clean all of this up. But now it's a little bit, well, hashtag dicey, unfortunately, here for ABombers. He does try and micro back as best he can. Those 2 Archons will push him away, but he lost a lot during all of this.
Yeah, well, if ABomb actually kept his Warp Prism alive, he could just harass as the Terran is attacking. And this is like the signature move for good Protoss to do, to make sure the Terran is, you know, kept in check. He can just directly engage you without looking at 3 different spots.
Well, at the same time now, I think we've got to also remember that trOt did sacrifice a lot of SCVs to that, so. But it's still, he's looking okay, especially if he can replenish a little bit of this. He's trying to get a Ghost Academy as well up and running to deal with these Archon numbers that are now flooding on out.
This is actually really good by trOt if he's going to do a Doom job, but unfortunately it's going to get scouted right away, and this is really, really unfortunate. But all the Stalkers died, which is really, really nice for the Terran. Like, most of the time people don't realize after a big battle, you actually lose pretty much all your Stalkers, and right here you're not even going to be able to defend this.
He goes straight in for the drop. He actually can close the gap with those Colossi very quickly if he wants to, but realizes that there's too much there, too many Zealots to continue on, and he gets 1 Colossus regardless, so not too bad actually there for trOt at all.
Yeah, I think any Colossus kill right here is really good, just because your opponent really doesn't have any sort of splash. Is Storm finished by any chance?
I don't think so, no.
This is going to be really hard for, I think, ABomb at this point.
trOt has a few units in the middle field. If he aggressively reinforces, then that's okay. But I think trOt from this point on is looking to sit back a little bit, take his time. He realizes that he's done quite a bit of damage and slowed his opponent down to a certain degree. And once he gets his Mobius Reactor out for those ghosts, then he should be okay.
Yeah, I think so too. Just because ABomb just keeps losing his expensive units like Colossus, and those things, they don't take like 1 warping cycle to build. They take like millions of years to build. And, you know, the more of them you can conserve, the better it's going to be. And right now, I think ABomb is in a lot of trouble.
A little poke over on the right-hand side here by trOt, trying to kill off some units at the mineral line. He already killed off a few Stalkers that were trying to get up to the main, but in vain, unfortunately for them. 47 workers have been killed here by trOt, despite being 52 to 46. So there's been good replenishment by ABomb. But again, trOt, if he continues on and if he establishes himself a 4th base, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, finally he's actually making some ghosts. I was wondering, he has Ghost Reactor, Ghost Academy forever, and he's just now putting ghosts out. I think if he had them earlier, he could have done a much bigger timing push with his, another SCV pull with his like 3-2 army and just destroy ABomb at this point.
This army is looking scary. You're right with that. This is a 96 army supply to 77, and we do see that ABomb spreading his observers out where he can so he can spot any drops, and also Zealot down to the bottom left so that he can spot also those medevacs. But for now, I think if he can buy time for Storm to finish, then great. But if not, if this comes before, I think he's going to have a hard time.
Yeah, this 3-2 timing is going to be really, really harsh on ABomb. Any sort of upgrade you have ahead as Terran is just going to annihilate the Protoss army, regardless of what kind of composition they have.
And he is spreading himself out quite nicely across this huge, huge area. Those Vikings looking for that one Colossus, and once their job is done, they could quite happily land and do more. He's going to spread himself out a little bit. He kills off the High Templars that just walked in. The Zealots are trying to do what they can, but there's not really that much EMPs landing on a lot of this.
Yeah, there's no more AoE left. As long as trOt does his Korean Terran micro, he's going to win this game at this point.
And he's trying as best he can do. Those Archons are dissolving under the pressure of all of this. The 2 Ghosts also helping out as well. The Stalkers blink forwards to try and focus those down, but now ABomb here with these few units he has remaining against trOt. It's been scrappy back and forth, but trOt is managing to plow on through, managing to break this third base location where there's only 4 Stalkers and 2 Zealots. The probes have to come off the line again. trOt now is looking in prime position here to take game number 1.
This upgrade advantage is just killing it, especially when you do small skirmishes with like medevacs, you just OP medevacs. This is exactly what you want to say about them in this match.
GG, trOt takes game number 1 here versus Mindsanity's ABomb. And ABomb's not going to be feeling too happy about that, man. He really felt that he was probably the favorite going into this game. I mean, we thought that maybe he would be the favorite going in, but we underestimated trOt a little bit.
Korean Terran, never underestimate.
Never underestimate Korean Terrans. I have to agree. A long time ago, I said it was Protoss, Zerg, Terran, and Korean Terran, and they never really disappoint too much unless it's Codes.
Yeah, trOt did play a really fantastic game, and I think this map choice was really poor by ABomb, but I don't know if he had the right to say the first map, but it was just, as you can see, like the openness on the map, it just completely crushes ABomb's strategy with Colossus. You need like maybe 5 or 6 sentries to be able to force it off with Colossus support. I'll just go Storm, like there's no point.
All right, well, we'll be getting to game number 2 in a second here as Mr. trOt just takes a swig of his drink, and our second map will be Frost to see if trOt can advance on to play against his teammate once again, Byung, which unfortunately for trOt previously didn't go so well. But it's nice to see, nice to get a glimpse at exactly how a coach like trOt is actually able to play. You think, the Korean scene, what goes on in their team houses, it's a little bit veiled. Not really many people know how well their coaches play and stuff like that, but a lot of them, they're ex-pros, and they can hold their own.
Yeah, I've actually played against a few of them, just during some fan match things. I managed to get a hold of a coach, be like, hey, you want to play? Let's play some games. And actually, to be honest, they are very, very good.
Seems so, man. It seems so. Well, okay, we're going to be getting into this next game in just a second once we have hosts for everything here on Frost. I'm looking forward to it. ABomb, though, is looking a little bit stressed. He's, as I said before, it was his first time in the booth against Major. He was a bit nervous, but the second time now being 1 game down, I can only imagine the nerves are going to get to him a bit again. Yeah,
but this is definitely one of the comfortable maps he's going to play on, and I think he's going to do his best and bring out what ABomb really is.
Okay, so both of the players are ready. I'm saying let's go please, because I'm actually boiling. And I would like to get into the game as quickly as possible so I can take my mind off it. All right, so let's start the game. Countdown has begun for Frost in game number 2. It feels like we're on the surface of the sun. Hello Kitty.
Oh man, this is what I'm used to when I live in China every single day.
Oh, where did you live in China?
It's called Hainan. It's an island on south of China.
Oh wow, sick. Okay, I went to China twice, and the second time I was there, which was the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai, I actually had to tap out of a cast halfway through the day because it was so hot. But anyway, let's get into game number 2 as we have spawning up to the top left-hand corner, our blue Protoss representing Mindsanity. It is ABomb. to the top right. Currently 1 game up, representing CJ Entus and their coaching staff. He is trOt.
I'm very interested to see what trOt is going to do again. His timing was not very refined last game. However, his game understanding is definitely impeccable as a coach of CJ Entus, and I'm just really impressed of how well he actually plays, under pressure. Actually, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, he absolutely has to be. Like, if you are a coach of a professional team, you have to know all the ins and outs of the game. Otherwise, you're just feeding wrong information to your players, and then they're like, get angry. It's like, why'd you tell me this? Like, then you get fired, and then it all goes downhill from there.
It's like, what the hell? Why are you telling me to do this build? Like.
Yeah, man. So trOt has to have a really deep understanding of this game, which culminates in a victory so far against ABomB. Now, how well is he going to do elsewhere is the question, as we already have now. Just going to be gateway opener here from ABomB.
I'm very surprised that trOt actually went to Barracks first. Usually you see Terrans go CC first on this map and just take a huge mid-game advantage and just crushes your opponent with like 3 base SCV pull in. But I guess he's going to metagame a little bit because, a lot of times Protoss think the Terran's going to play greedy, so they play even greedier by going Nexus first, and, you're going to end up getting punished by a Reaper opening like what trOt's doing right now.
I think you're right on that. I mean, if you sometimes when I'm casting, I see a Nexus first opening against like a Reaper opening, I'm like, that's going to be really hard to stop any damage being done. Yeah. But of course, if you lose a probe or 2, then technically you have the Nexus to double Chrono Boost and try and get some out. But it's still really scary. Still really scary.
I think a lot of people underestimate the power of Reaper. Once you get 1 or 2 kills, you first of all you force them to get off the mineral line.
Yeah.
And second of all, you really mess up their timing. Like, every time I lose like 2-3 probes to a Terran, like all my timing is just gone. I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do in this game? Should I just go like blink all in or something behind it? But oh man, it's too late. So I get like really indecisive. And I think, this is definitely one of the best openings right now in this meta.
One thing that I am not used to seeing in this game is a straight cross the board scout that trOt has looked to employ here. So that is very interesting. Can you think of any particular reason why he goes straight across instead of close position?
Definitely, I think it's for the Reaper. Like, you have a 50-50 regardless of where you scout first, right? But you don't want your Reaper to travel all the way down to the diagonal left to try to scout for something, or go straight down, which is further than go from left to right on this map. And I think that's one of the only reasons you would do that.
Well, he now does spot where his opponent is, so this Reaper gets in a very timely fashion, but just as it gets in, that Mothership Core does pop. So there's not really a whole lot now that this Reaper can do other than have the scouting information, that the Nexus is going down, etc, etc. But ABomB manages to slip into his opponent's base as well. Whoa, double Reapers are in production actually here.
This is actually, I think it's kind of bad for trOt if ABomB just scouts it.
Yeah.
I think ABomB might actually just leave because he might think there's a Marine coming out. Oh, actually he's staying. This is really smart if he does.
He sees the second barracks as well after that command center, and he is going to lose that probe. This Reaper was very wisely brought back to kill that off and keep those extra Reapers hidden here. So really interesting choice here from trOt, I gotta say.
This is going to be really scary for ABomB at this point. He has 1 Stalker, well the second one is producing, and then 1 Nexus Cannon from Mothership Core. But if you use your Nexus Cannon on the Reapers, what's going to happen in like 5-10 minutes is that there's going to be a huge timing and you're not going to have enough energy for second Nexus Cannon.
I mean, despite these 3 Reapers jumping in, Hello Kitty, like, the wall that we're seeing from ABomB is really interestingly constructed. It not only covers that top side, but it also is covering a little bit down to the south as well. So there's very limited room for these Reapers to do anything if the probes get pulled away from that right.
Yeah, this is just really smart build. Like, when you play enough PvT, I think you should always use your buildings to your advantage because they're pretty much useless once you have warp gates regardless, right? Yeah. So you might as well get as much maximum value as you can. And this is the difference between like a mid-tier pro Protoss player and the high-tier pro Protoss player.
And there we have now that 1 standard Reaper Immortal even being mixed into ABomb's composition while he transitions onto probably the Robo Bay as well as Twilight Council at the same time. And these 3 Reapers haven't really done a whole lot, haven't really paid for themselves. 1 kill in the grand scheme of things, which was the scouting probe anyway.
That is very impressive micro and just, map awareness. And I think there's no Twilight Council from I think he just wants to scout at this point. But this is good too. I mean, even though you're losing a lot of resource, you get your best scout. You don't have to scan or anything, and you force the Nexus Cannon, which is the most preferable thing you can do as Terran.
That's true. He did actually force the Nexus Cannon, which is kind of interesting considering that there was like Mortal there to maybe chase him down for a little bit longer. But as you said, trOt wanted to see what was up in that top left, as his opponent was clearly protecting that coveted spot as well as the mineral lines. And it is the Robo Bay. So I would be surprised actually if we saw trOt eventually throw down a scan to see what was behind there. But for now, I mean, ABomb's just playing his standard game.
trOt is actually making a third bunker for some weird reason. I don't know why, or he scouted the entire base and he still decides to do that. I think he might think it's like a
blink play?
Immortal bus or something maybe,
okay.
But this is so old that it doesn't work anymore with this meta.
No, yeah, this makes a whole lot more sense. I was like, wait, a blink play is like, no, he hasn't seen Twilight Council. Like he saw one Immortal. There's no way a blink play could actually come along. You're right. So for now, I mean, ABomb, he's just controlling the middle of the map. He's trying to macro it up. He's got his first Colossus being Chrono boosted out, but now all the bunkers have been salvaged. trOt realizes the time has passed, right?
Yeah.
That anything could happen.
As you can see, he did pretty much the exact same build from last game, except no factory and stuff. But he's stim pack. Oh, I can't even say stim pack. Research timing is a lot faster this time. This is the timing that you're supposed to do as Terran. You catch your opponent off guard. Maybe they're playing way too greedy or something, and you just pretty much A-move and kill his entire army. And he doesn't have a Nexus Cannon, I don't think. He does have one, actually.
Yeah, it's just recharged up a few seconds ago. So drops the scan, sees what's at the natural, and with that one Colossus there, it's a little bit scary as to whether or not he can really do much. Nice trade.
He can just be at this point. But this is... Oh, why did you use a...
Time warp?
He's very confident. Oh, this is not good for ABomb at all. That was very overconfidence right there.
Doesn't have that many gateway units here. If that Colossus ends up falling to these bio units, but the force field somehow managed to hold on strong.
The OP fields, pretty much.
Fields?
The time warp field and the combination with force field is pretty OP.
The combo, yeah, man, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Well, ABomb, that was an interesting defense. I wasn't expecting time warp to land.
Yeah, I think trOt got a little overconfident. He got to pick up 2 Stargers. Like, if I pick up 2-3 units and you're, playing way too greedy, I'm just going to kill you straight up.
And this Colossus does return back to the natural. I think maybe it was on a little bit of a rally point for an observer.
Go home, Colossus.
For an observer.
You're drunk.
Exactly. They've got to keep themselves alive, man. Otherwise, that bio is going to run them over.
ABomb's upgrade timing is actually quite a bit later than what I expected from a Colossus opener. But this is gonna, I guess, put him on a decent spot.
And he sees the third as well, just as it starts up. So he knows exactly where he is in this game right now.
Yeah, but he cannot all in off this, for sure. In my opinion, at least. Maybe he begs to differ with OP fields again. But I would not recommend with 3 Colossus all in. But you never know. It's ABomb. He's crazy, right?
That's true. Normally he would try and go for the third base and try and macro it up. How many gateways does he have in total, actually? He has 5 with 2 more on the way behind the mineral line. So this is interesting how he's going to try and move on out. That probe's moving into a position that looks like a third base. But he's doing all right so far. I mean, his army supply is 67 to 59. And it's pretty formidable as well with 3 Colossi. There's nothing really that trOt can do to pressure that, right, without the Vikings.
Yeah, I think trOt actually did not make any sort of Vikings. You cannot engage. You cannot engage this army without Vikings.
Not at all, but we have now trOt looking for a drop opportunity. The Stalkers, though, with Blink are too mobile to let that happen. And he is actually going to go for the engagement against 3 Colossi. Great force fields will seal that all in.
This is not... Yeah, you can't. Even if you're, innovation, you're not going to attack into 3 Colossus with no medevacs against, 4 sentries.
I mean, if you are in ABomb's shoes now, do you see the opportunity to just say, I just got the most amazing trade. Do I now just go for it, or does he sit back? It looks like he's off on it.
I think he's going to do a lot of pressure, but it's not meant to kill his opponent. If he kills him, it's great, but if he doesn't, he always has a third base and macro and upgrades to back it up.
Well, they right now has a grand total of no Vikings. He's adding on a second star ball because he knows he's in trouble. So he has to crank out Vikings as quickly as possible. But even if he could just kill off this command center alone, that would be fantastic here for ABomb.
Yeah, I think trOt is actually getting the nerves that might have gone to him because from the first game, his macro was not the most impeccable macro, and he didn't make Vikings until like 5 minutes in after like there was 3 crosses out. I think that was just a big mistake by him, and got a little overconfident, I think is the correct word.
Well, it looks like she's just going to pull on back to his gateway forces, whilst trOt looks for an opportunity to do something, because right now he just lost a command center. He has no third command center. He's probably going to...
Oh, he's pulling SCVs.
I was just about to say, he's probably going to pull SCVs, and ABomB sees this. So he knows all he has to do is hold on from this point, and we use those stalkers. Will he be able to get Viking? No, he does not. So he has to fall back.
Why is he not using Blink?
Well, he got a medivac, so that's okay.
You can't engage into this, is there?
No, I don't think so. 4 Colossi here are going to absolutely roast up those units very, very fast. The Stalkers blink forwards once again to try and catch those Vikings where they can, but without a flank of Marauders, Marines, anything to kill off those Colossi. They reign supreme here in game number 2. Even the probes come off the line. And there you go, GG for game number 2. ABomB manages to tie up the series.
Yeah, I think one of the mistakes that trOt did was just, his time was really, really off, and they were on even upgrades in the end, and charge is almost going to finish as well. I mean, if ABomB just decides to chill out for a little bit, let his charge finish, he's just going to completely wreck trOt in a straight-on fight.
Nicely done there by our My Insanity player, and now we move on to our final map in this best of 3, which will be something. It was the most convoluted, confusing map veto of all time. So I dread to think what the third map is going to be. I think they don't even know the third after that veto. And there we go, actually, Heavy Rain. So
very interesting map choice.
Yeah?
Actually, for a lot of people that don't know this map, they have a little bit of glitch, at least in my experience, that you mine slightly less minerals than you normally would on a normal map.
Really?
Just slightly. Like 3 minutes in, it mine maybe like 50 minerals less. But that definitely affects your build if you're going to do like a one base all-in, for example.
Because of the placement of all the mineral fields?
I'm not sure, but I definitely had a few experiences. I've talked to a lot of my Protoss friends and Terrans, or Nozark friends, because all they do is hatch first. So yeah, and so I think there is a problem with that map, but it doesn't affect that much unless you're doing all-in.
Interesting. I did not actually know this, but the more you know. It's all good, thank you very much, man. As we now get into game number 3 here to see who unfortunately is eliminated from Group D. After this game, we still have 3 more series for the day. The winner of this will play against Byong to see who advances on for that second spot after Major takes spot number 1 in Group D, and then after we shall have 2 quarterfinals, which I'm under the... This might be wrong, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say we will have MC versus the second place finisher of this group, and then Jack G versus Polt, which is, my head's going to explode with Jack G versus Polt, because I predicted like one of those two to do extremely well, and if they're going to knock out one another, or one of them's going to get knocked out in the round of 8, then oh my god. All right, let's jump into game number 2 as we have spawning down to the southern position. In fact, it's game number 3. He is My Insanity's ABomB. And well, spawning up to the north as our Red Terran representing CJ Enters' coaching team, it is trOt. And look what he's up to.
I think this is going to be a Reaper opening.
Yeah?
Most likely. I think, would you rather see a lot of PVTs or TVTs?
I like TVT right now, man. I really like TVT, so I would even go for TVT. He's actually going to go so far with this.
This is insane.
Oh my.
My insanity is gone.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, I had to do it.
I understand why you had to do it. I appreciate that. But yeah, ABomB is going to get driven insane by this if he's not careful. You are correct. trOt is, well, can this work? The thing is that ABomB normally scouts out for proxies a lot. So much so that Todd got hit by exactly the same thing on this map. ABomB scouted out Todd's proxy on ladder and lost. So this is going to be interesting.
Actually, I think this might just be a 1 Rax. Do you know a Terran player on the name named Ruff?
I do know of him. I haven't seen many of his games.
He does things like this all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful playing against him, you pretty much decide this might just be like a bunker up. Like you make like 1 or 2 Marines, and you start making bunkers on the back into his mineral line, and he cannot mine at all. Yeah, see, this is some sick play from trOt.
Well, looking to close out this series quickly. His tournament life is on the line. And ABomB is going to scout for a proxy, but it's not going to be in the right location. He's not checking where it matters.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he only has 1 gas. This means he can't do both like mothership port and get stalkers out at the same time. And this is actually going to be very problematic. I mean, we just have to see how well ABomb's micro is going to be.
You're 100% right with that, but the thing is that if it was the gas on the left-hand side, it would be far more advantageous for ABomB because he could try and mine some gas, but now it's the one on the right-hand side, so that's going to get shut down so easily here.
And look, there's SCV port. I think this might be a little too early for trOt, maybe? But, oh my goodness. Oh no!
Oh, doesn't get the surround. The probes won't end up dying very quickly. More SCVs are on the way. That bunker does force the cancellation on that, but there's still more Marines.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have, he does have 1 Zealot out. But
he needs to chrono his gateway. I think he's just panicked right now. He's probably never seen this strat on, you know, unless you're on an A.
Oh, he gets one of the Marines, but there's still 2 alive. The SCV is also going to work as well here. Where is that Zealot? It's in the mix. It's trying to do what it can, but a lot of the SCVs died off during that. ABomB might be able to hold on here. There's nothing making this second. He needs to get that SCV on the second bunker.
No. Oh, this is a very nice hold, even though he did not. He chrono his like stalker like 3/4 way through. I think ABomB holds.
There's only 7 SCVs left against 14 that are now mining. There's no more gas incoming, so he would like to get that going, but he's going to have a second stalker as well. But the Marines are still piling on out. And he's actually trying to transition off the back of this.
Yeah, I think trOt just really got overzealous. If he just waited slightly, maybe the nerf's getting him a little bit, but if he just waited a little longer with 3 Marines, you're just going to crush your opponent. Because he doesn't scout it, like...
Yeah.
You don't need to all in like this.
Well, he pokes forwards again, but those 2 Stalkers and Zealot now out provide ample firepower to make sure... Oh, he needs to save every single unit, even that SCV going down that could have been loaded into the bunker is a big deal here for trOt, I feel.
Yeah, right now I think ABomB should feel pretty confident. Like, he killed like maybe like 10 SCVs on top of 5-6 Marines, and this is just dangerous right here.
Oh, it's brutal. Oh, it's horrible. He killed off a few more Marines. It's not going trOt's way, unfortunately. He's making a bunker back home, realizing that, you know, maybe even a Zealot could just come along and make this hard for me. And he doesn't even get that Stalker as well. So a really disastrous opening here for trOt. Can he play out of it? It's going to be difficult, I think.
I think it's going to be extremely difficult at this point. If he didn't pull his SCVs, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
If he once he pulled SCVs, it means you're very committed. You're not doing enough damage. You know, you just can't win at that point.
1 Zealot is now trundling across the map here, and can't really do a whole lot just yet, but once those 2 Stalkers come along, as well as a 3rd, gee, I mean, that's quite a bit of firepower that's going to take away SCVs from mining. They're going to have to repair. Very, very annoying times are about to happen for trOt.
I think if trOt did some next level shit, just put the barracks in the, like, look at what he's doing right now. He's trying to put his barrack into the Nexus, but it's already too late. If he did that really, really early on, he would have. This is just next level. Force your opponent at 1 base all in, you just hold and you win.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult here for Mr. trOt. It really is. He's trying to get those double gas guys up and running. Barracks is still flying around, having a look at things. He's going to land it behind the mineral line for some reason, because he couldn't land it at the natural, so why not there? And
this is actually really smart as well. It kind of blocks, you can see it kind of blocks off the path for anything to attack it, like a Zealot. And you just make like 1 Marine, and it just annoys the Protoss.
Well, I suppose this could work out. But now we have the Mothership Core going along with this as well. And with the Mothership Core's high ground vision, all these Stalkers have to do is sit out of line of that and just harass the supply depot. There's not a whole lot you can do at this point.
Yeah, I think this is, unfortunately, might be the end, as long as ABomB doesn't miss micro like he was doing earlier.
Needs to keep... Oh. As long as he kills that supply depot. Wait a minute. I would have liked to have seen him kill that, but it's minor. I mean, he's still in a good position. That 1 Marine did end up popping out. And will it get a kill? Go on, Marine. Get 1.
Oh!
Yay!
And they forced that probe off the line, so that's like super worth it right there.
It's the weirdest thing ever to hear that was really worth it, but it kind of was. But anyway, now we have trOt still holding on. with these 3 Stalkers being very, very annoying. But during all of this, I mean, ABomB knows exactly what his opponent's up to. He saw the entire infrastructure pretty much, aside from the tech pad, but some siege tank follow-up, trying to do something there.
I think if I were ABomb's position, like at this point, I would have just started a blink timing with Observer, and just harass your opponent. They can never get out of one base. I think trOt is going to bring back 2011.
Yeah.
The 1-1-1.
I guess he can try. I guess he can try, but whether that's going to work or not against an opponent that has 32 workers and is adding on to his production should be okay, because this is a difference we've seen here from ABomB. He's actually added on a second gateway a little bit quicker than he would have done, because normally he would have gone for the Robo Bay really quickly off all of one gate. So he's adapting to his opponent, realizing that there's no macro focus here for trOt. Come on.
Exactly. I think he realizes that his opponent's not on one base. You don't want to play greedy at all versus one base players. And I just don't see this build work, to be honest. There's the OP Nexus Cannon and the double OP fields.
Wait,
so
you're a Protoss player. Why do you think everything from Protoss is OP? You're not supposed to say this.
I'm trying to be unbiased here.
You're so unbiased, you're biased towards other races. Oh, jeez, man. Oh, well. Anyway, the Observer's going to fly in here for ABomB and have a look around as well. And here come the SCVs for trOt. So it's all on this, man. It's all on this.
I think ABomB should really scout. Does he scout it? Oh, he scouts it. He scouts the main. And he sees there's like three SCVs.
Yeah.
No, he should know, and he should just start making units non-stop.
He knows what's going on. ABomB is just going to send that across. We have the hallucinated Phoenix coming in here for confirmation of everything that's happening. He also saw the lack of the natural, of course. So now ABomB should be able to prepare. I haven't seen a proper 1-1-1. Well, it's kind of different, but like against Photon Overcharge, which I assume is not going to go too well.
Yeah, the Photon Overcharge actually targets the tank. It actually hits the can.
I think it hits just in range, yeah.
Where is his mothership core?
It's down in the main, so he's going to try and bring that back to the natural and then hold this off.
Here we go.
But there we go. It's just slightly out of range as that siege tank.
But that Immortal is going to do so much work right there.
Yeah, he really is, especially if he's able to get even just one siege tank. It's totally worth it. The Banshee follow-up, can he get the second one? No, he doesn't. But it's so weak right now, he has to repair. Very important. trOt's going to continue this, but he's half the supply of his opponent right now.
Yeah, I think this is... He has another, time warp, or the Mothership Cannon right afterwards as well. And by that time, ABomb's gonna have like 5 or 6 gates and like 1 or 2 crosses even. And I think the game is just gonna stop from there.
We have one SCV on the high ground here for trOt. Maybe he wants to try and make a bunker or something. That would be a little bit weird, but after Banshee did move on forwards, and well, it provides him high ground vision, which does help out quite a little bit. As you mentioned before, this is really next level by trOt, sending one SCV up here to make this work. But oh, he's actually going to focus that down.
Oh man, if he loses that, actually, it's going to be huge. But that one cross is just going to spell doom for all of the Marines.
Yeah, very important stuff here. He throws down another Nexus cannon on that natural. And I mean, this is just getting out of control. 52 supply to 30 in terms of the army. So, and the Photon Overcharge is just getting like free kill after free kill if he focuses down on Marines.
I think trOt started to realize that it is almost GG time.
His time is nigh. It really is. There's 2 siege tanks still here, but that's a huge army that we're seeing from ABomB, who just pushes on forwards. That bunker's actually going to survive for quite a while. Really needs to focus fire properly here to kill all this off. He loses the Colossus, but all of this is going to die off for trOt. Photon Overcharge is there to hold on against just Marines left over. And that pretty much does it for our CJNT's coach, GG. And there you go, ABomB advances on for his second chance to advance on to the round of 8.
It was very well played by ABomB for identifying the cheese as soon as possible and just straight up, defense against it with just probes and zealots. He didn't even have a stalker out when he was defending against it.
Bit of an odd series here after having so many amazing series during our tournament, but it happened, it's done, and Mr. ABomB advances on. Congratulations for trOt for walking away with $350, turning up, he's just like, yeah, I'll sign up, sure, why not?
And then for taking a straight up game off of, ABomB, that's, not a lot of people can say that.
Very, very well done. So congratulations to ABomB for moving on to play against Byung again, but now the coach has played against ABomB. Now it's time for the Code S Terran to play against ABomB. And Byung, probably has a pretty good shot at this.
I'm pretty sure the coach is gonna be, telling him like exactly how ABomB play. Hey, this guy doesn't do this, blah 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 blah. So it's probably a guaranteed win for Byung.
All right. Well,
that's my prediction at least.
I think so. I think he might have a very good shot indeed. All right, guys. So that does it from us here at the Caster's Desk for that series. Next up will be Byung versus ABomB here at the Intel Extreme Masters. Thank you very much, Hello Kitty, for casting with me.
Thank you for having me again.
Awesome stuff. And we'll see you after the break with more awesome StarCraft action.